Am I the a-hole for snatching my son's brand new Nintendo Switch he got for Christmas out of my nephew's hands after he and his mom stole it? So this Christmas, me, 26 female, and my girlfriend, 25 female, decided to go half on a Nintendo Switch OLED for my 5-year-old son, which came out to a little over $400 with the warranty. I did want to get it for his birthday in September, but I couldn't afford it at the time. My son was really happy he got his gift. This past Monday, my sister and 8-year-old nephew came over to spend a few hours with me, my son, and my daughter. All was well until after they left, we couldn't find the Nintendo. We searched under the couches, behind every TV, and opened every cabinet and drawer, even under the fridge. I didn't think my nephew took it. The thought didn't even cross my mind. I didn't try to get a new one with the warranty because the warranty doesn't cover loss or theft. I just figured it would pop up in the house eventually when we weren't looking for it. Earlier today, I went to my sister's house to drop off some leftover food I made from yesterday's dinner, and I noticed as soon as I walked in through the door, my nephew jumped off the couch and darted into his room and closed the door. Again, I didn't think anything of it, but I did decide to sit and talk to my sister for a bit. A few minutes later, my nephew came out of his room to use the restroom, but left his room door open, and they live in a small apartment, so you can see his bed from where I was sitting on the couch. And lo and behold, I see a Nintendo Switch sitting on my nephew's floor in front of his bed, which was clearly visible because of the blue and red controllers. I get off the couch to go pick it up, and when I turned it on, my login account was on it, so I knew it was my son's. I asked my sister why my son's Nintendo was here, and she acted as confused as I was. But then my nephew came out of the bathroom and he yelled, "No, give it back!" and snatched it out of my hands. This is where I may be the a-hole. I snatched it back from him and told him it wasn't his, and you can't steal from people, and he just started screaming and falling out kicking. When I snatched it back, my sister was pissed. She started cursing me out and telling me not to snatch anything from her son's hands. I argued that it was my son's Nintendo, and she knew I was looking for it. My son never took it out of the house, so there's no way it ended up at my sister's home across town on its own. This woman had the audacity to try to snatch it back from me. It turned into a screaming match, and I just walked out because it wasn't going anywhere but physical if I didn't. It's crazy because when I asked her why my son's Nintendo was there when I first found it, she was as confused as me. So for her to switch up that fast because I snatched it back from my nephew is beyond me. I would understand if I snatched it too hard and he fell, but he didn't fall from the snatch. He purposefully fell from his tantrum. Yes, he is 8 years old and still throws huge temper tantrums. Am I the a-hole? You definitely aren't the a-hole. Your sister is unhinged for enabling such bad behavior, and it will all come back to her in a few years from now when she realizes he won't be able to get away with it. If I was you, I would not let your sister or your nephew in your house again. They have proven to be untrustworthy, and you need to protect your property. Your sister also tried to play it off as if she didn't know what her son had done, but it was clear she did as soon as she switched up. What would you have done if this had happened to you? Let me know in the comments below. I moved out and took everything. It became apparent to me last week that my roommates were trying to drive me out of the house to get one of their boyfriends in on my lease. When I told them I wanted to stay, they started staging incidents/messes around the house so they could yell at me for them, and it all came to a head when they called a meeting with me 2 days ago. One of them had to hold the other back, as she screamed at me that she hated me and I was not welcome in the building. They proceeded to tell me that I contributed nothing to the house and wasted their space, and that they had gotten in with the landlady and convinced her to not renew my lease in June. I told them I'd talk to the landlady, and when they said they were the heads of the house, I laughed and went on with my day. I spoke to the landlady, and she acknowledged that they were out of hand, and while she had given them the power to not renew my lease, she also said I could move out whenever and not pay for a single day I wasn't there. So, yesterday when my roommates both left to visit family, I immediately called everyone I knew and vacated the house of everything I owned. I took the curtains, the rugs, all the cat toys, and even the cat tower that I had made with my mom. I took all of their things off my shelves and other furniture and stacked them in the middle of the now nearly empty living room. I snapped pictures of everything, handed the keys to the landlady, and immediately effed off. They won't be back to the house until tomorrow. tomorrow. I've blocked them on everything so I won't get any angry messages, but I'm sure their faces will be priceless when they come home to a half-empty house with hundreds of dollars in storage and furniture gone. So much for me not contributing anything to the house. Now I actually don't. They also have to find someone else to take up the lease till their boyfriend can move in when June comes around, or they have to pick up my rent. Feels pretty good. Good on OP for standing up for herself here, and getting back at her roommates at the same time. If they want to complain that you don't contribute to the house, then why not move out and show them exactly how much you contributed? The best thing is they can't complain, as everything you took was your property. And even better, their rent is now bumped up because of their arrogance. I'm glad the OP here had the landlady who was kind enough to allow her to do this too, after being informed of how much she was being harassed by the roommates. Would you have done something similar? Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my sister any of my grandpa's inheritance? I, 32 male, was recently bestowed an inheritance of close to $50,000 by my late grandfather, 91 male. The reason I received the inheritance, according to the will, is because I was the only person in his life who would make a point of visiting him at his old age home. I would visit 1 to 2 times a month to check in on him, play cards, bring him on walks, etc. The main reason for these visits was because when I was at the lowest point in my life after getting home from deployment, my grandfather was always there to listen and talk with me. We were both combat veterans, so he understood me on a level other people couldn't. Here is where the problem lies. My grandfather held a lot of extreme viewpoints that I did not agree with, more specifically against the LGBTQ+ community. I resented my grandpa for these views and called him out whenever he would say something inappropriate. I was very close to ending the visits because of these views, but decided against it for reasons discussed prior. My sister, 28 female, is happily married to a woman, 31 female, and therefore obviously cut off contact with my grandfather. My sister and I have a very good relationship in general, but would frequently fight over my continued relationship with my grandpa. When he passed away and left me the money, I did not think there would be any argument over it, as my sister wanted nothing to do with him, understandably so. However, when she found out about it, she demanded that she should receive half of the money. I was shocked and basically told her no way, as she was not the one who had been visiting and providing care for him for the last 5 years. My sister was visibly angry, and we've not been on speaking terms since. This has left me wondering whether I am the a-hole, as my sister was a victim of my grandfather's bigotry. However, I don't think half the money is a reasonable request. I will accept whatever judgment I receive. Am I the a-hole? I don't think that the OP is the a-hole here, as he received the inheritance money due to him still checking up on their grandpa, and although the sister no longer visited him for obvious reasons, I still don't think she should get a cut of the money, as she wasn't in his life for the past 5 years. Another reason she shouldn't get half of the money is quite simply because she wasn't in the will, so giving her the money would go against the grandfather's request. Do you think he should split it? Am I the a-hole for telling my late dad's in-laws that their granddaughter is not my responsibility? I'm 19 male, and my younger sister, Kala, 15 female, lives with me. Our dad and his wife died 3 months ago. Mine and Kala's mom died when we were younger. Dad and his wife had been married for 4 years. His wife had a daughter, Lacey, who is now 5. When CPS became involved, because both were left orphans, I stepped up to take my sister. I was already working full-time since I skipped college, and I just about had what I needed to take care of my sister. They asked me about Lacey, and I told them I just wanted to take my sister. Lacey was placed with her grandparents, my dad's in-laws. They became aware of the fact that Kala came to live with me, and that I had been offered the chance to take their granddaughter, and refused. Once they learned this, they asked me why, and then pestered me about it for weeks. Finally, they told me they were older and she could use as much family as possible, and that she misses Kala. I asked Kala if she wanted to see her, and she said not really. So I told them we were not interested in staying in their granddaughter's life. They told me she's our little sister, that my dad would have wanted us to stick together. I told them I didn't care what my dad wanted. They said not to punish a child for the sins of my parents. I blocked them and continued on with things until they sought me out on social media via one of their older grandkids and told me that I should be ashamed of myself and their granddaughter deserves to be with her siblings and be raised by me, since I'm young, fit, and healthy and could run around after her her like they can't, and will be around a lot longer than them. I replied once that their granddaughter is not my responsibility and that I wanted them to leave me and my sister alone, because we have no reason to be in touch ever again. That wasn't the end, and they called me selfish and cruel a few times via another account, so I had to set my account to private to stop them. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Making clear that Lacey was my dad's stepdaughter, not his daughter. Edit 2. Some info that keeps being asked. The bio dad is not on the scene. He could be not alive, but I really don't know. He never seemed to be in the picture though. He could also be unknown or something, but there's no bio father involved. I also was not close to my dad, neither was my sister. There was a lot of stuff involved there, but I was no contact with him and everyone but my sister for more than a year before he and his wife died. So I had nothing to do with Lacey for more than a year. The OP here is definitely not the a-hole. You're managing to take care of your 15-year-old sister at only the age of 19. So for them to expect you to take care of a distant relative who you haven't been in contact with for over a year is unexplainable. They also tried to guilt trip you into letting her stay with you. I would continue what you're doing and cut full contact with them and any other family members who agree with them. Although I feel for Lacey, she is not your responsibility. What do you guys think about this situation? Am I the a-hole for threatening my parents' time with my son? This may be totally selfish and unimportant, but here's my dilemma. I have a 17-month-old son. When he was born, he had a head full of copper red hair. He had the cutest little baby curls, and I wanted to keep his hair long for as long as I could manage it. I'd planned on cutting his hair after his first birthday. When my son was 10 months old, my mom cut my son's hair without my permission. She didn't contact me, never asked for my opinion, nothing. She and my dad were keeping him from me at the time, and I found out she cut his hair when I went to pick him up. I was livid. I wanted to be there for my little boy's first haircut, and I didn't want it to be so early. I wanted him to grow his curls because I thought he was so adorable and handsome with his brand new penny copper hair. They both told me I was being irrational when I blew up over it. I asked them not to ever cut his hair without consulting me first. Months later, we started going to a stylist for his haircuts that I really like. She's great with him. He loves getting his hair cut by her, and it's a nice outing for us as mother, son, or a family if his dad comes. It's something I enjoy and something he enjoys. Apparently, my mother doesn't like the way this girl cuts my son's hair because she cut his hair again on a visit without consulting me and gapped up and ruined his cute little boy haircut. Again, I asked her not to cut his hair without running it by me first. A month ago, my son stayed with my parents for 2 nights because I worked a late shift and my husband was gone for work. The second night after my shift, my mother sent me a picture of his new haircut that she once again did herself. I was seeing red. I'd asked her twice now not to cut his hair without my knowledge. Her reasoning this time was, "At least I sent you a picture of it." When I picked my son up, I went off. I told both of them that under no circumstances were they allowed to alter his appearance in any way, haircuts included. I told them I'd already asked twice that they not, and they went against me as a mother. So this time, I'm not asking. I told both of them explicitly if his hair was cut ever again while under their care, they will not have access to my son in any way other than supervised visits on my time. No more overnights, no more day visits without myself or my partner present. They were not happy about this. They told me I was looking for any reason to keep my son away from them. They told me I was being irrational over nothing. They went as far as telling me it was borderline abuse to let my son's hair grow over his eyes. At that point, I left, and I've been low contact and no visits since. I know my son needs grandparents, and I want him to have a healthy relationship with them, but I'm tired of my wishes as a mother going unheard. Am I the a-hole for threatening their relationship over this? You are not the a-hole here. They've shown that they're not going to respect you as a parent and a mom. They can't be trusted to watch your son, and any damage to their and their grandson's relationship is their own doing. To say you are borderline abusing your child by denying him haircuts sooner than he needs it also shows how controlling they really are. I'd stick with supervised visits from now on, as it's clear how untrustworthy they are. Do you guys agree or disagree?